welcome back, everybody, to Vigilantes Union Local 13. Last time we saw Amber, she was involved in a kerfuffle. Is that how you would describe it?
I think it might have been even a scuffle.
A dust-up, perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
With a random villain known as Froststorm, who, all one word, by the way, it's one S. You know, he's the kind of guy that actually, puts a lot of value in getting these things correct in the media. So, in case anybody asks, Froststorm, all one word, just one S. Anyways, he decided he was going to, basically attack a bunch of people on a bridge in Portland in order to, basically hold it hostage, hold it for ransom, demand some sum of money, who knows. Amber was there, and she decided to put a stop to that. It was a little bit touch and go, but ultimately he decided it wasn't worth sticking around and having a big fight, so he bailed. If we're honest, Amber kind of wailed on him a little bit. But that's just a quick recap of what happened. Probably the editors won't need that, but just for you and I, at the very least.
Right, yeah. So,
you also were handed basically a contract by Deirdre Fitzpatrick, the rather brusque union representative for the nascent union that's getting ready to form. She was not exactly what you would call pleasant about it, but, nonetheless. So it is now a few days later. Amber has probably been getting some odd looks from...
Probably,
let's see.
Eliza Edmonds.
Yeah. Where? That's weird. I thought I wrote those down on that page, but it looks like... Oh, here we go. Yeah. Different page. You've probably been getting some weird looks from Eliza around the offices of the Portent, the newspaper where Amber works.
Completely don't realize that she's giving me odd looks.
She thinks you're just playing it super cool, but in reality, Amber's just oblivious.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on the last couple of days. There's a little bit of a buzz that there's a new superhero in town, especially with such a dramatic reveal that she had. But otherwise, it's kind of business as usual.
Just going to work, getting up bright and early, working out, going to work, and going home and just doing her usual thing. Waiting for the next big thing to happen, which she assumes is, the vote for the Vigilantes Union in Portland, which she is just consuming all possible news for.
Okay.
But other than that, just kind of living her life.
So I think we talked a little bit about last time you had an interaction with... the news crew had an interaction with this Commander Blockade guy.
Oh, yes.
That basically is leading up Blockade Securities Limited, a private security company that's trying to sort of horn in on the union thing and basically take over that job instead of the union, which is, there's points on both sides. But regardless of that, having gone through and like poured over all the news and stuff like that, you are doing your day-to-day job, living your life, and your dad is a scientist, or Amber's dad is a scientist, correct?
Yeah.
Do you have a name for your dad?
I don't, but let's call him, just to keep it all going, let's call him Andrew.
Dr. Andrew Anderson. His his online username is Andy Squared.
Yeah.
Because he's the type of nerd that would think that was clever.
Absolutely.
Just like me. So, yeah. He works for a company in Portland that... Have you ever seen the show Fringe?
Yes.
Okay.
Only like the first season, though.
Okay. That should be enough. It actually gets really good in season 2. It's one of my favorite shows. But there's a company in that show called Massive Dynamic. Mm-hmm. And they're like this big kind of tech company that does all sorts of weird science and technology, and basically they're kind of the catch-all for like, there's some science-y thing. Well, let's go talk to this company, and they'll have someone who knows what's going on with it.
Right.
Your dad, Dr. Anderson, kind of works in a similar type of lab. It's really unclear whether or not the lab is privately funded or if it's like government subsidized. It doesn't have any sort of like corporate association. Like it's not like a lab for a particular company that makes a product and releases it out onto the market. They're sort of like a think tank. Say again?
It's a little bit like, was it Bell Labs back in the day, where they just worked on all sorts of different things?
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
Some of the early IBM stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sort of a think tank R&D, not firm, because that's the wrong word, but like co-op, I guess.
Yeah.
It is just this side of shady.
Okay.
There's lots of speculation about it in the news and things like that. But I mean, your dad's a pretty wholesome guy. He would never do anything that was going to endanger lives or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
And by the way, as far as Amber's concerned, her dad is a scientist, which means he does science.
Exactly.
That's basically all she knows about it.
Sort of science.
Problem, she goes to dad, and dad solves the science problem.
Exactly. It is the company, or the lab he works at is known as TechMat Labs, short for Technology Matrix Laboratories. You are at work doing newsy type stuff when sort of a breaking news alert kind of goes out, and in particular, Brock Kentman, the anchorman, James Simmons, the cameraman, and Timmy and Eliza, the photographer and the journalist, they all basically kind of rush out to go look into whatever's happening. And there's been some sort of break-in at TechMat Labs.
Is this the sort of thing where this is sort of the normal team that Amber is on, and so she would be expected to come along with?
No, because Amber works in the mail room, so every once in a while you're assigned to like go along as like a PA type of thing, but that's usually for like pre-planned and scheduled like press junkets and things like that. Anything that's like breaking news, like you need to rush out into the field, is not something that Amber is usually involved in.
Okay. Well, it's a break-in. Break-ins happen, but she would recognize the name of the company your dad works for. So I'm gonna go ahead and give him a call and just see. Are you okay? I heard there was a break-in at your work.
Yeah, he answers. Are you calling him at his office line, or are you calling him at his cell phone?
Cell phone. And actually, I probably would have texted him that. Are you okay? I heard I heard that there was a break-in.
Who calls anybody these days?
Exactly.
You see the red message thing tag pop up, and then the three dots, and it takes a minute for a response to come in. Your dad is a notoriously slow texter, despite the fact that he is prolific as a typist, like on the computer. Finally gets a text to you that says, "Hey, honey, everything seems fine. Came in this morning, something seemed a little bit out of place, and then eventually we realized that someone had broken in and stolen some things. Doesn't look like anything is still here, but definitely weird. I gotta go. Can't talk right now. Bye."
Okay.
And that's kind of where he leaves it.
Well, I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's busy at work, and especially with some sort of break-in. Yeah, no, I'm sure he's fine. And I'll just go back to doing my normal work.
Okay.
And just kind of be, after a while, send another text just because, just making sure everything's still okay. Text me if you need anything. And she'll also be set up a Google alert for any notifications, and actually, obviously watch our organizations. I know I wrote down the name of the Prophet, not the Prophet, the
Portent.
Portent.
Yep.
I'm gonna write this down. Yeah.
The Portland Portent. Primarily a print newspaper, but does have an online journalism presence, as well as it's not really live TV coverage, although a lot of their pieces do get covered by one of the local TV stations. Mostly Brock does stuff for the YouTube channel and the direct website. The Portent has a slightly different business model than a lot of news outlets. So
okay, I will go ahead and keep an eye on our coverage of it and see if anything's going on.
So what you notice from the coverage is the crew basically gets completely stonewalled. Your dad isn't involved, he isn't interviewed or anything like that. It's some clearly legal representative or PR representative from TechMat that is basically kind of doing the no comments, we'll release further details as they become available type of thing. Give me, if you don't mind, would this be... Am I going to give... You know what? Give me a willpower action. This is going to be to notice something. So you're going to be working at a 0 willpower to start off with. But your journalism skill is going to help in this case, despite the fact that it's an intelligence skill. Or an intellect skill. I just feel like it all kind of fits in together.
Well, and let's see. The purple one is willpower, correct?
Correct, yes.
So I can play that, and it will...
it will give you a boost.
Explode.
Mm-hmm.
Put a card there. Which it also explodes. So that is at least a 10.
Okay. With an appropriate skill to reduce the difficulty, you can go ahead and draw your card back. And then I'll move those off to the side as the discard pile. Lots of intelligence cards. Okay. You do in fact notice that there is a very light police presence, but they're like basically kind of like working the cordon, like to keep like the press kind of back from the property. There's like private security basically on site that is, very clearly handling, like they're liaising with one of the officers, but they're very clearly handling the investigation on their own. They're not. You can actually pick up that there's a little bit of tension between the cops and the private security guy. That's like kind of acting as like the lead contact for TechMat. Like there's a little bit of butting heads there, and you kind of notice it like in the background, and it kind of jumps out at you because you're like there should be more cops there, I would think.
Yeah.
And with like the PR guy basically like stonewalling all the reporters and everything like that, there's not really anything of interest to notice there. So you just kind of notice that in the background of the interaction.
Okay.
That
doesn't seem right. You know what I'm gonna do? I text my dad, bringing you some lunch. Be there in half an hour. And I'm gonna bring my dad some lunch because he's had a rough day.
Okay. So all this kind of like, all this kind of kicks off, and it's mostly Brock, the anchor guy, that's kind of having this interaction. Like he's there, like asking questions with the other little, gaggle of reporters. Eliza gets back a little bit early, and she basically says, "Yeah, there was nothing of interest there for me, so I didn't really bother sticking around." You kind of overhear that when she notices that you're leaving. She kind of sidles up next to you and walks with you, and she says, "Going somewhere?"
Oh, I was just gonna bring my dad some lunch. He actually works over at the place that got broken into. So,
does he? I didn't know.
Yeah, no, he does, and I'm sure in that department. It didn't. I texted him earlier, and he said he was nothing to worry about. But that kind of thing can rattle a person. So I just thought I'd go and have some lunch with my dad.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I would love to join you.
It's.
Oh, it won't be a problem. Don't worry about it. And she hooks her purse over her shoulder and kind of like looks at you expectantly.
But okay, I guess.
Great, and she kind of like walks out of the building ahead of you.
Okay.
She says, "We can take your car, right?"
Yeah, this is my car here.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So have you ever actually met my dad before?
No. He sounds like a fascinating guy, though.
Yeah. Okay. Let me let him know that you're coming with, so he's not.
Oh, you don't have to do that. We wouldn't want to stress him out or anything like that.
Okay.
It's just an opportunity for him to meet one of your peers at the paper, and it's a chance for me to meet your dad. And, I feel like we haven't had the chance to really get close in the time that you've been working here, which is really unfortunate because, you're invaluable when we take you out on stories. So.
Well, I'm trying to improve my skills so I can actually move up from the mailroom to actually being a reporter. I have a degree in journalism, and I've been keeping up my writing. I've been submitting articles to the paper, but they didn't like the last one I sent because they were like, "Oh, it's just a cat up a tree." And it was a dog up a tree. How does a dog get up a tree? And then
Oh yeah, they passed that one around.
Yeah.
I actually, if I'm completely honest, you're young. You're just out of school. Your writing's a little bit rough, but everybody's writing is rough when they start out.
Right.
So
well, yeah, Well, I'm working on it, and that's why there's editors and all that. But I'll keep submitting, and I'll keep submitting, and hopefully one of these days I'll get one of my articles in there, and then get moved up from the mailroom. And
You
I mean,
know.
not that I'm gonna ever compete with I want to work beside you instead of
Oh,
and because there are a lot of reporters
there's
here
no.
and
It's not about competition. It's all about getting the truth
right,
out there. So, but
right, exactly.
I just had a thought.
Oh,
Something that might help is maybe we could do an article together. And then you're having this conversation while you're driving. Like you pick up
mhm,
whatever food you pick up.
right.
Um, she actually pays. She's like, oh, we'll charge this as a business thing. Um, and she says, here's a thought. We could do an article together.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
That would
yeah.
be
I
great.
mean, it's a great way to kind of get your name on an article, so you have
Yeah.
you establish a byline,
Mm-hmm.
and I can kind of help sort of massage things to make sure that they're going to pass inspection, by the editors and all that stuff. Really,
That
the,
would
the
be
only thing is we need to find the right thing to write about. We need to find the right topic of an article.
right. Well, I mean, if something comes up, then if you hear something or if I hear something, I'll definitely tell you, and we'll brainstorm something and figure out what angle we'll want to take and all that.
Yeah,
But I mean, we'll just have to wait for something to come up.
yeah. I'm sure
That's
something will
that's
come
the
up.
hardest part.
There's always interesting things happening in this city. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I know you're not on the entertainment beat because I heard that there was a new club that had opened up, and like some people had said that there were superheroes there, but I don't believe it because I don't, I wouldn't think that they would go to a public club like that. But they swore up and down that they saw someone, and I don't know.
well,
Anyway, but there
honestly,
and
I'm way more interested in real news. Not to talk down about the entertainment circuit or
oh
anything
no
like
no
that,
no
but real news stuff that's gonna keep people
oh yeah
informed about things that are happening in the city. It could be relevant to their safety and their all that stuff.
right
So
no I was just brainstorming trying to think of anything that might be relevant. So
as you guys are kind of
like
pulling up to the building for TechMat, um, you probably have a little visitor's placard on your card, like a little
yeah.
sticker or on your car, a
Mhm.
little sticker in the windshield. But nonetheless, because of everything that's going on, you can tell security is tighter today than normal, and you actually see your dad on the other side of the security booth, kind of on his phone, he's clearly waiting for you.
Okay.
And as you're in line to go through the security booth, Eliza says, "Oh, you know what? Maybe we could cover the break-in here."
Um,
There really wasn't much detail given. I'm sure your dad probably has some insights. I mean, it'd be a great inside angle into the whole thing.
well, yeah, but wouldn't I have bias because my dad works here?
Well, but that's why I'm here, because
Okay.
I can help. I can help kind of filter out the bias. It
Right.
works.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
it's just a thought.
yeah, let's just see how my dad's doing first because I am worried about him. With everything.
Of course, the human element is always the most important thing. So
Obviously, yeah.
the security guy, he kind of checks your ID. He checks the sticker. He kind of looks something up on his computer in the booth. Your dad walks over to
Frank.
your dad walks over to the window and kind of is yeah, my daughter, she's with me. You can.
And this is my friend Eliza. She's from work.
The security guy kind of leans down and looks in, and your dad kind of looks at you kind of confused and then also leans down, and the security guy looks at your dad and your dad kind of goes, yeah, and so it's all right. They kind of chat back and forth. Frank and your dad clearly know each other, and he lets you in. So you park. Your
Right.
dad goes to meet you at the car, and comes up and gives you a hug.
Hi, how are you doing? I was worried about you with the break-in and all that, and I was looking, and it I don't know, it seemed a little something seemed weird about how they were handling it because they weren't talking to anyone, so about what happened. And I thought normally when there's a break-in, you want to let people know what was stolen so they can recover it.
Well, I mean, normally, yes. Things have been a little tense around here, though. It's very hush-hush type of stuff. You know how it can be. He kind of like, he introduces himself to Eliza, and is very kind of like, he's not rude by any means, but you can tell he's very much like being careful, like kind of what he says.
Right.
He walks the two of you to the building. He, swipes his badge. He checks it at the security desk, gets visitor badges for both of you. He, like, has like kind of polite conversation during the whole time, and then takes you to his office, which is it's a pretty nice office, if we're honest.
Right. And actually,
it's big enough that it's got a desk, a small table, and chairs in it. Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna say, as we're walking there, Amber's actually going to be dropping a few hints that, basically, that Eliza kind of invited herself along, and because, Amber's oblivious, but not stupid, because there's a difference, and so she knows. I would think that she knows enough social, basically how to behave and how to talk to her dad in a way that would communicate to him that, basically what Eliza is doing there, at least a little bit, without basically saying, I'm an idiot who brought this reporter along to eavesdrop on our conversation.
Gotcha.
And just, as much as she can. I know that she can't just flat out say that, but as tempting as it is.
Give me a... It's going to be a willpower action. Would persuasion make the most sense here, or would... Are you just trying to be diplomatic about the way you say it, or are you trying to say it in such a way that she doesn't catch on, you're telling your dad this is what happened?
I'm trying to do it in such a way that she doesn't catch on.
Okay, in that case, that is definitely going to be... I think manipulation would be the skill for that, which you sadly don't have. So it'll just be a straight willpower action for you.
All right, and my willpower is 9. Yep. So I'm going to put a... I'll put one of these 5s on it.
Okay.
So...
All right, so that'll give you a 14. You can go and draw your card back. I'm going to put that over there, and I'm going to do a quick card draw to see how... She's probably sitting at 5, so 10. Okay. Yeah, she seems like she's kind of focused on other stuff. Like, she's not being rude again. She's clearly very adept at having a conversation and being polite and being interested and engaged while also paying attention to things that are going on in her surroundings. Right. So, like, she's paying more attention to your dad than she is to you, and paying more attention to the building and everything like that than she is to anything else. So you feel like you're kind of able to slip it by her to your dad that, like, hey, I think she's here because she wants to sniff out a story, and she doesn't, at least you get the feeling that she didn't catch on. She doesn't change the way she's acting in any way.
Good.
But she's a couple of times when, like, actually you probably wouldn't see this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get to your dad... go ahead.
I would say, to be fair, I'm also kind of looking around as well. Not that I'm expecting to see anything, but, let's put it this way. She's looking around trying to find a clue that she's never going to find.
Right.
But, she's trying to be a journalist here, as well as, also trying to be a superhero, and she's not sure which applies yet.
Trying to be a superhero, a daughter, and a reporter. So let's pull it in a lot of different directions. You get back to your dad's office. Just out of curiosity, for my own sake, what did you pick up for lunch? Did you go to a specific place? What?
Actually, probably teriyaki. Call it that.
Okay. So, like,
'Cause
basically, like,
it's
teriyaki
got a lot
bowl?
of protein in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eliza, she got a steak, veggie, rice bowl. Brown rice, of course. But, otherwise, she seemed like she was heavy on the teriyaki sauce.
Mhm.
Your dad loves the chicken teriyaki, so you got him that.
Right.
The three of you sit down, and your dad waits for Eliza to sit down, and waits for you to sit down, and you kind of pass out utensils and make sure everybody gets food and whatever they're going to drink, and your dad very conspicuously leaves the door open to his office.
Okay.
And the conversation kind of continues.
Right.
For a couple of minutes. It starts to kind of like wane, kind of gets a little bit bland, as it's clear that Eliza is like, she's clearly hoping to get something a little bit more out of it than just, pleasantries and lunch.
Right.
So yeah, what are you and your dad talking about?
Well, after the whole "Are you okay?" did it, affect any of your work? Did you know anyone who was, affected by this, that kind of thing? I know you can't tell me what was what was stolen and all that. I'm not asking about it. I just want to make sure that everything, is Hank okay? That kind of thing.
He,
But
sorry, go ahead.
No, just that kind of thing first, and then as that trails off, how's mom? I haven't talked to her in a couple days. Is she still going on that trip to Bolivia?
So you probably won't get quite that far because
Okay.
he does say, he does say that the when you ask like it's like one of the first questions you asked about.
How's Hank?
It was about like how, like, did this affect you, or do you know anybody that was affected by
Yeah,
it?
did it affect your work? Did it affect
Yeah.
anyone you know?
He
that kind of
says
thing?
well, actually, yeah, he says this is actually going to set my project back quite a bit.
Oh no!
He says I don't know if you remember, but I've been pulling the occasional late night over the course of the last few months. It was on this particular thing. Sadly, well, sort of having to start back at the drawing board in a way.
Oh no!
So-
So some of your stuff was the things that were stolen?
It looks like
Oh.
it. Yeah, the only lab that was hit was mine. So.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh geez, that's. It's gonna take you forever to get back there. Well, hopefully the cops recover the stuff that was stolen. The
Eliza
equipment.
chimes in and says, "It didn't seem to me like the police were involved much in the efforts earlier today." She kind of like looks at your dad expectantly, and he kind of says, "That's true. TechMat does employ a team to handle matters like these internally, just to safeguard proprietary secrets and things like that."
They'll tell the police what to look for, so you can get your equipment back. So you don't have to start quite from the beginning. You still have your notebooks and all that, though, right? You can just make it again.
Well, normally yes, but being as we can't keep our materials off site, they were here, and
Oh no!
so it was a very comprehensive and very thorough theft, robbery, burglary. He kind of looks at Eliza, and she says burglary. He says, and Eliza kind of starts asking like some subtle but not so subtle questions about like what sort of security systems do they have, and how secure is the compound, and things like that. And she makes it kind of sound conversational, but your dad's not fooled. she knows he's not fooled, and he knows she knows that he knows he's not fooled, and it's kind of a little like it's a little bit of a dance.
Whereas Amber's just like, oh yeah, this is just conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where very much your dad is trying to be polite because you work with this person. So he's trying not to just completely like stop asking questions. It doesn't exactly. I wouldn't say it gets tense, but there's definitely a little bit of there's a little bit of back and forth, like a repartee in the conversation. After a few minutes, he kind of gets a look on his face, and he says, "Actually, Eliza, maybe you would like a quick tour of one of the lab spaces that we often give tours at to visitors. Might give you a bit of an idea as to what sort of safeguards and security measures we have in place, just to put you at ease, because it seems like you're a little bit, tense about the break-in. You've been on this tour. It's the kind of thing that you really only get this tour if you're already a visitor for someone. It's not the kind of thing that someone can just on the public side can just sign up for. But he's very clearly trying to mollify her, give her a little bit to get her to stop asking questions. And he kind of looks at you and says, "You've already seen this. I don't expect."
No, I've been on this tour when I think I was 10 when I last went on it. But yeah, it's a really good tour. You should go on it. It's you get to see all sorts of stuff that they're working on. It's really neat, and it probably be you probably really like it.
That sounds great. And she stands up and she says, "Would you mind, Amber, just straightening things up?"
Oh yeah, I can clean this up. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
And she and your dad kind of leave. Your dad is like a half a step behind her, and he kind of gives you a look around the door jamb as he leaves, kind of like he clearly isn't sure he likes Eliza. But
so after they're gone, she'll use her super speed to finish eating her teriyaki, and then, which she's been trying desperately not to do for the entire meal.
Your parents have probably told you so many times, slow down when you eat your food. And they mean it literally when you do it.
Yeah.
So.
And then she will, at normal speed, clean up everything. Because it's her, she's not going to see if her dad left her a note or anything like that. But, she'll clean up and just kind of take a look around the room, just because it's, near where her dad works. Actually, so this is just like a break room type thing?
No, this is your dad's.
Oh, this
office.
is my dad's office. Okay.
Yeah, he actually has a little. So he's got the desk with some nice chairs, and then he's got enough space that there's another small table, a couple of chairs around it, so that he can take work lunches or whatever in here, and he's got the whole wall is one solid whiteboard basically. It's got some stuff that was clearly written out and then has been erased. There's just kind of the remnants of stuff. It doesn't look like it was done hastily. Just your dad doesn't always clean the whiteboard off meticulously. So
yeah. Actually, she'll take a moment because it's her to finish cleaning that off. Yeah.
Okay.
It was there.
Give me. You don't have any science skills. Give me just a straight intellect action, if you will, please.
Okay. Well, I can use. Actually, I'll use the 4 here.
Okay.
And then draw another.
Ooh.
So that's an 11. Plus my intellect is actually, it's 4. So that's 15.
Okay. I will discard those. You can go ahead and draw a card back. And so as you are kind of... oh no. Doom cards. Yay. Nummy Doom cards. Justice, and we are starting right off on page 1 with Kinetic Justice kind of like facing off with a couple of these guys in like this kind of gunmetal gray, like semi high tech, like armored suits with like these high tech guns. And there are 2 of them at the door at the moment. And Brock Kentman, local news anchor for the Portland Portent, is sort of standing back a little bit shell-shocked. There's glass littering the ground. Although you didn't break the glass coming in, you broke the glass throwing the guy out. So technically, I guess the glass would be all over like the back patio and the lawn. And there's like this big like gouge in the dirt from where the guy hit, and then like just continued going. Brock is gonna very quickly kind of like collect his wits, and he's going to kind of like get between you and the troopers, and he's gonna say to them, "Oh, it's okay. Actually, this brave man just stepped in to protect me against someone who broke into my house under your noses. What am I even paying for you guys for?" And like he kind of like goes off on them, and in this like very like he doesn't even pause to take a breath in his tirade. It's very like seamless as he like browbeats them into apologizing and like turning around and leaving the room. And he kind of like walks them out, continuing to berate them. Like threats of like, I should call your supervisor and yada yada. And I know the commander personally. Like he came over and like I signed the contract with him directly, and yada 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 yada. Sort of the classic like, do you know who I am? And I'm going to get you fired for this type of thing. And then a moment.
Leaving me.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was like, leaving me alone in the room?
He does leave you alone in the room for a moment, yes. If you have anything you'd like to do, you are welcome to take a look.
Yeah, the area where they were arguing, I want to go and like it's the floor might be the best spot to touch, and postcog.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be a postcognition action. So that's going to be an intellect action. Sadly, you don't have any intellect cards, but I mean, you can always play one of the ones you have. Hope it's enough. Yeah. You can do a Hail Mary if you want to try to draw an intellect card off the top of the deck. You can also push. You can just play that Doom card for me. Get it out of your hand nice and early.
Yeah, that's kind of what my plan was. Yes. We're just gonna think.
All right. Fantastic. So that is going to give you a total of a 16. So that's going to go over there. Go ahead and draw your card back. I'm going to draw the card for me. And even though photographic memory isn't technically a skill that would normally like be applied to this, I feel like it should be. I feel like it's the most appropriate skill in the game to apply to like postcognition and stuff like that. So
I definitely remember what I postcog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And really, postcognition is just you tapping into the memories of the environment, right? So, or something like that. We'll go with that explanation. It sounds good from a comic book logic perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
So, we'll say that applies here. Sorry, I did not shuffle my deck of cards before the session started because I am an amateur. All right, set those off to the side, and aha. Ooh, okay. Hang on to that card for later in case it comes up. Spoiler alert, it's going to come up. All right, so a 16 is actually a pretty good score, all things considered. You, Kinetic Justice wears gloves, typically, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I imagine you, like, tug your glove off, you, like kneel down and touch the carpet.
Yeah.
And, let's see. Let me just make sure there isn't anything. Postcognition challenging is within 1 week. Daunting is within 1 month. Okay, so this is a 16, so it would go back up to a month. And I'm assuming you are looking for stuff that's like specific to this scenario. You're not looking to see like the time he spilled wine on the carpet.
No, I want to see like the argument that I missed.
Okay.
Yeah.
You get a little flash of different things. You get a flash of like there was a party. There were you kind of it flashes by super fast, and so really you just get a mental image of like nice shoes, men's and women's, like the hemline of a couple of dresses, trouser like legs, type of thing. Kind of clinking glasses and conversation. You do get like a sense of like him having like dropped something when he had a couple drinks too many. And it's kind of like this like montage of quick flashes before it kind of like slows and sort of like focuses in on what just happened. But even that kind of cuts back and forth between this argument and another conversation that seems like from the conversation that you overhear or that you pick up, it's just before the party. And so this argument is this wolf person, this wolf guy, basically like saying, like, you were supposed to, you were supposed to have it set up and ready for me to pick up. You screwed me on this deal, basically. You screwed me on this job. And Brock basically saying, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I made sure that the room was clear. It's not my problem if you didn't come in and get it. Like that, you're the one who screwed that part up or whatever. And the guy, this villain basically saying like it was already gone when I got here. And then that kind of like cuts to a conversation between the two of them that is less, it's not as loud, it's not like a shouting match, but it's significantly more tense. Brock is clearly afraid, and this guy is much more like physically like intimidating Brock. Like he you kind of are looking at it from like this angle, kind of like looking up. And this guy is like, he's like brandishing claws and like snarling and like leaning in to Brock. Brock is like up against a wall and kind of like cringing away. And the wolf guy is like, he says, you're throwing a party and you've got some woman named Morgana coming on the guest list. And Brock is like, how did you know about that? He's like, that doesn't matter. All that matters is you're going to make sure that she puts her stuff like in the coat room, make sure the pool is open, and make it a point that everybody needs to like spend some time in the pool or whatever you need to do to make sure her belongings are in that coat room. And Brock kind of is like, his little bit of like reporter's curiosity kind of gets the best of him, and he kind of is like, why? And the guy says it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that she's got some distinctive jewelry, and I want that. And Brock is like, yeah, okay, like I'll figure something out. Just like don't hurt me. And the wolf guy is like, well, if you do what I'm telling you to do, nothing needs to happen. And then he turns and walks away. And then the third kind of like little snippet you get is of Brock talking to a lady who looks a lot like Morgana, but she's way younger. She's also gorgeous. And she, he's kind of like chatting back and forth, not exactly like flirting, but like, just a lot of like, oh, well, it would be great to get everybody into the pool, and it's like the first time that the pool is going to kind of be open for the season. I've got it all warmed up, and I want to make sure everybody gets to enjoy it. Kind of like, sort of like, not really being like pushy, not aggressively pushy, but not letting up on it. And Morgana finally kind of relents and is like, all right. You did say to bring a bathing suit, so I figured that, some swimming would be involved. I'll go get changed, and, I'm just going to put my stuff. And he says, oh, yeah, just leave your stuff in the coat room. There's a bathroom in there you can get changed. Just leave your stuff, on the bed. And that's kind of where the vision, ends. At the end of the last episode, your contact, your source of information from Hark Media and Advertising, which was attacked by Professor Calamitus's robots in the previous issue. Her name is Linda Lee, Dr. Linda Lee. She didn't go to school for all those years to just be called Linda. Was abducted by some of these Calamitous robots, or Calamibots as they're called for short, because comic books. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Compiler was sort of left standing in the street as the Calamibot flew away with her.
Yeah. Well, as I recall, that it wasn't a Calamibot anymore. I had turned it into a jetpack to try and help her get away, and then it turned out that the jetpack was still evil. So
yes. The jetpack could be controlled remotely by Dr. Calamitus. So that's right. I remember the jetpack creation. For some reason in my brain it was the jetpack was created and you created it on the thing's back so that to force it to fly away, rocket it off into the distance. that is correct. Thank you for orienting me to the truth. Okay, so we're going to sort of cut to beginning of the next issue is Compiler has gotten out of the street basically, and has gone to wherever he would go to sort of regroup and figure out what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What are your thoughts? What's your plan for proceeding?
That's definitely tricky. So Dr. Lee was talking about this Project Facelift that had escaped and needed to, I guess, make contact with before Calamitus found it, but now she's been taken, so I think Compiler's priorities have changed a little bit, because it feels really guilty about what just happened there. So, I think really the question I would have... Well, no, it's not even a question. I think Compiler would be mostly interested in trying to figure out whether Calamitus was still using the same lair, location, foundry, whatever it is, or if he's relocated since they're falling out.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. So, we're going to... you don't have to do any checks or anything. You just go back to the place where, it was. My question is, are you trying to be sneaky, or how are you approaching it? How do you get there, and what is your plan?
Well, I guess it really would be pretty obvious about this, because I'd sort of discussed the possibility of it trying to chase after wherever the jetpack was going last week, but that ended up not working because it's too injured, so... at this point, I think it figures Calamitus knows it's coming, because they did have a brief over-the-phone conversation, so it's just gonna walk right in there, because it figures that Calamitus being Calamitus, the last thing he'd expect is something that was supposed to be him to not come up with a clever plan.
So your clever plan is to not have a clever plan.
That's the hope, yes.
All right. I like this. This is good. Okay. Yeah, you. Let's see. Do you have anything in mind for what this former lair was, or the lair that you're familiar with was?
I guess I don't. I mean, it would have to be fairly. It would need to be a lab of some sort if he was mass producing Kalamabots here, but beyond that, I don't really have any kind of. But that's kind of why I said foundries, just because of the possibility that maybe that's how you would have an assembly line for murder bots.
Right. I am gonna do a quick Google Maps search. All right, fine.
Oh.
Well, we're just gonna come up with it then. Totally fabricate something here. Sure. I know Portland is like right on the river. It's not right on the coast though. So I imagine that this location is probably somewhere between Portland and the coast. Probably closer to the coast than it is to the city itself. And yeah, it's sort of an old. It's sort of an old like logging operation. It wasn't a particularly large one, but you know it's been abandoned, so it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And from the outside, it looks like it's just this kind of like abandoned. Classic cat, poof, tail in the face.
Yes, indeed.
From the outside, it looks like it's just this abandoned logging operation, and it's got rusty chain link fence and signs saying like "keep out, private property, trespassers, yada yada yada." But the interior of it has been pretty much entirely redone and sort of cleaned up. Like there's like support structures in place. The exterior is just a facade to keep people from coming in. When Compiler was here last, did Compiler blow its way out? Like, did basically, did Compiler destroy everything on its way out the last time?
I think it did. That's not the way Compiler usually tries to operate, but I think the last time it was here, it was kind of panicking. They were having a big falling out. It didn't really know what the situation was, and so it was just pure whatever it could do to get out of there.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks to you as you approach. Hello, kitty. It looks to you as you approach that the place has been. It has not been put back together, but it was sort of like tidied up and, patched. Let's say not repaired, but patched. Just enough so that like nothing on the interior was kind of like peeking through or like would draw any attention from somebody walking by that notices like, hey, there's something weird about the interior. Okay. There's a chain link fence in the way. You remember it being electrified the last time you were here.
Okay.
And you can just fly over it if you like.
Yeah, I feel like that would probably be its go-to move, because it's not here to bust in. It's here for conversation, I guess, so...
Okay. Yeah, so you fly over the fence, and you land, and you start heading into the main structure. And as you do, this is going to become relevant quicker than I thought, actually. Let me pull this up. There. As you are getting closer to the main building, you hear the definite sound of like sort of like automated fabrication and assembly. It doesn't sound like it's not like it doesn't sound like it's a mass produced like conveyor belt, but there's definitely like it's definitely reminiscent of your early days with Calamitous.
For sure. Very, a lot of welding noises going on, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. With a distinct lack of any kind of conversation. So,
Fair enough. I guess in my time here before, would I recall any kind of place where I would, quote unquote, keep a prisoner? I say I, but it's, the memory thing.
right. Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of like isolation rooms and things like that could easily be like that could easily double as like a cell. You take the table of lab equipment or whatever experiment happens to be in there, and you move that into another room and you toss a cot in there and you've got a cell. They're pretty well you know pretty well secured and reinforced. They're probably the toughest parts of the building because if something's gonna blow up, you probably want to put it in a room that can handle an explosion. So
Yeah, for sure.
and those are kind of like towards the heart of this very long building that has a couple of like it's got a couple of extensions that were clearly like add-ons after the fact that house some of the like storage and things like, or they did when you were here last anyways, they house some of the storage and things like that of material and equipment. So you basically would have to go into the main building through one of the doors at either end and get to kind of like the center of the building in order to get to these containment rooms.
Okay, yeah. I guess that would probably be the direction that Compiler would head in, because I don't think it's necessarily here to shut Calamitous down. It's been too afraid of its creator for this long. It's not just going to start running in and messing with his fabrication systems.
Okay.
It's just here for the person that it got kidnapped, so...
All right. So if you just head in the front door, as you approach the front door, there is a robotic voice that says, "Please stop what you are doing. Turn around and vacate the premises. It is not safe here."
It's good to see you again, too.
User, let's see. User voice print unrecognized. The voice kind of repeats that message every 30 seconds or so until you either get to the door and go through it or you turn around and leave.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's heading through.
Okay.
I do think it feels a sort of... How do I put this? It's... Because most of the Calamitous creations aren't sentient, right? So I do think it feels sort of connected to this little robot voice, even though it doesn't really have a way to befriend it exactly. So
Yeah.
it's just a thing that's always been there,
Okay. Let's see. Perfect. So you go through the door, and there is a on the other side of the door. It's sort of like an airlock or like foyer, like a mudroom type situation where you go through the door, and then it's a very small space, and then there's another door, and this one looks much more like high-tech lab than the rickety wooden door that you just walked through. And standing in front of the lab door is something that you're not familiar with, or you're probably familiar with, but you... How long have you been away from Calamitous again?
Not very long.
Okay.
Not more than 2 to 3 months at the very outside, I would think.
Okay. In that case, you would kind of recognize this thing as what was a prototype when you were still like in the final stages of your development. And it's this kind of small, boxy robot. Think of it as like a cross between R2D2 and like a Minecraft character.
Okay, yeah.
It's very much like angular and everything like that, but it's kind of got that squat, like gets around on wheels for the most part. But if it needed to, it could probably kind of walk a little bit. And as you come through the door, it kind of like rises up a little, and the head sort of like the neck kind of extends to make it look a little bit more like big and imposing. And that same kind of like sanitized female robotic voice says, "You are not authorized to be on this premises. Please turn around and leave. It is dangerous to proceed."
Hello, I need to make an appointment. Is the doctor available?
There's a faint whirring sound as it processes this request. I want to say that like it's the equivalent of eyes, like do the little buffering, the little buffering thing, and then it says, "Your request is important to us. Please wait." Do 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 do, and like the whole music plays for a moment, and then the robot kind of like rolls forward and then kind of S turns its way out of the door, or out in front of the door, and the door opens and Dr. Calamitous is standing there in front of you, and he kind of like
Good afternoon. Or I think it's actually like pretty late evening by this point.
yeah.
No, it would be like early in the morning because I broke into that place. I think it was 3 a.m. So
that's true. Yes, it was very late that
okay. Yeah. So
that night.
yeah.
So yes.
Good morning.
Calamitous kind of scowls and kind of steps back and like gestures for you to come in.
How gracious. Thank you for the invitation.
Says, "Yes, well, I'm not a barbarian. I'm not going to make you stand at the doorway to have this conversation. Who knows what could be wandering by. What do you want? Why are you here?"
Well, bluntly, I wish to see the doctor, Dr. Lee. She was taken off by one of your colonibots. I have sort of assumed that she was in your custody.
Do me a favor. Give me a. Give me a willpower action, please. And so, of course, you can just play a card from your hand. You can push to play 2 cards from your hand, but you don't get to redraw one of them. And you can do a Hail Mary, which is just playing from the top of the deck, but you only get one of those per story, or per session.
Yeah. Compiler's willpower isn't terrible, but since I don't have any cards in the hand, I think I'm just going to go ahead and drop the biggest number onto it, so...
That's usually a good plan, yeah. Okay, so that gives you a 15. And, alright. So, go ahead and draw your card back.
Ready.
And I have to do something as well here. Wow, more strength cards.
Yeah, I guess.
Compiler is in a punchy mood right now.
Well, I mean, the last time it had to explode its way out of here, so...
That's true. Like, you came in the right mindset in case you have to repeat that. Calamitous kind of like thinks for a second while you're like after you've asked about Dr. Lee, and you. It takes a second, but you recognize that this is not calamitous. Like there's just something about the way he responds and the way he holds himself while he's thinking that this is not him. In particular, this seems to be a robotic entity of some sort.
Okay.
You don't necessarily. It doesn't necessarily know that you've kind of picked up on this, but your knowledge of robotics and like things like that, and the way Calamitous works,
sure.
you're like, no, this isn't this is not him.
I guess. So when Compiler was created, the idea was that it was supposed to be a platform for Calamitous to upload his mind into.
Mm-hmm.
Do I get the sense that this is something along those lines? Is it another quote-unquote failure, or...?
So, you're not sure about that.
Okay.
That would require a little bit of investigation. However, what you do notice while he kind of like processes what you're saying, and this is very kind of quick, like, it doesn't happen over the course of minutes. It's like quick kind of observation that you're taking in. You also notice that sound of like the automated assembly is still going on, and it kind of draws your eye close, like further into the room, and there is a very large basically replica of the robot that was in the foyer that is in the center of this room, and it's got a bunch of compartments that are kind of opened up, and these various tools and things like that are kind of poking out of it, and going in and welding, and then like drills something out, or screws something in, or and basically it looks like it's actually putting together another one of those robots, and you can see off to one side there's like a half dozen of them that are kind of like inert, kind of like lined up against the wall. And then the not Calamitous, the faux Calamitous, says, well, I can't have you interfering with things that are going on, my plans, so I'm afraid I have to deny your request.
I understand that there is animosity between us, and I do wish to clarify, I did not come here to interfere with anything. I am here because a person, a human, has been captured due to my negligence. I would see that corrected. Other than that, I am perfectly satisfied to leave you in peace. Also, I admire your aesthetic upgrades. The cuboid shape is new.
I'll tell you what. If you would like to give me a computer link action.
Oh, interesting.
This is one of those times when like having all the strength cards is like, this could be better.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
I
mean, you could just start punching stuff to make use of them.
I think I'm actually looking to... I know you said it's once per session, but this is probably going to be my Hail Mary, because I've only got a 5 in computer link, so... With all these strength cards, I gotta take a chance.
Okay.
So, let's see... Well... That could have gone better.
Yeah, it could have, but you know what? Actually, I will. All right. I'm gonna move that over into the discard, and I will take that into consideration. I imagine that Compiler, being, an artificial intelligence, probably is fairly frequently kind of like running like little scans just to kind of like detect if there's anything weird going on, and kind of the same way that most people would like are kind of listening and stuff like that. For you, it's sort of a sixth sense in a way, and you actually manage to pick up a little wireless like signal, sort of like a broadband or not, like a Bluetooth signal type of thing. And I mean, you've been connected to this network in the past,
Right.
so it's basically a very brief kind of communication exchange between this unit and presumably the real Dr. Calamitous, where Calamitous just says, stall it, keep it there as long as you can. And the unit says, of course, Professor, or whatever. And so it says, the faux Calamitous says, well, come in. We should discuss. The truth is, Dr. Lee is not our actual goal. She simply has information that we seek. We are happy to let her go with you, provided she answers our questions. Perhaps you can convince her. And, again, kind of is, walking you closer, or, further into the building. Assuming you follow, of course.
Yeah, I know what you just had me over here, but I can't see that compiler would do anything but go with at this point. Until it can confirm that Dr. Lee isn't here, it can't go running off to chase a Bluetooth signal, so... I guess we're playing counter-conversation espionage now.
Exactly. Ghost. All right. Well, when last we left Ghost, Jessa, Ghost, whatever you prefer to go by, had just escaped from a strange sort of labyrinth prison thing that was inside this crystal heart that had been brought in by someone in the history department at Portland State University. The heart seemed to be the home to someone who just referred to himself as Chancellor, and as well as a pit stop for a rather nasty character by the name of Leviathan, who is normally human-ish. They're human, but can occasionally turn into a giant sea serpent, which is all kinds of fun. So, we are at the point where Ghost has escaped from the heart, and the Leviathan, unfortunately, seems to have followed, having also appeared in the room behind her. So, yeah.
So Leviathan appears behind me, but I don't know that immediately because I'm not looking at him. Or does he say something when he lands?
I'm going to go ahead and say that your dimensional detection picks up on the fact that someone followed you, because it's a pretty significant energy surge type of thing. So it's something that something came through after you.
Right. Okay. So, knowing something came through after me, I'm going to take out my staff, which is still in its collapse state. I'm going to turn around and say no, 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 and just extend it right into Leviathan's face.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Because if I turned around, it was the other guy. I just changed the angle. If it was Chancellor, right? I don't want to hurt my friend.
But
it's Leviathan. I'm just going to extend it right into his face.
Okay. That is going to require a strength action, please. Martial arts weapons will apply, so you've at least got the appropriate skill here.
Yep.
So yeah. Oh, actually, before you play any cards, I'm going to play that as the narrator card. And I will need a strength action, please. Now, it is technically the beginning of a new issue, so to speak.
Yep.
So you can push again for free, And you have one Hail Mary under your belt that you can try whenever you feel it's necessary. Not saying you have to use them now, just a reminder.
Yeah, I think my best bet is actually to smack him with this.
Okay.
Use the Doom card right away because it's a solid 8 with my strength at 5. That's 8 pops it to 13, but I have martial arts weapons, so it goes to 14.
Okay.
It's my best bet right now, especially in a surprised moment where it's like, oh crap.
Right. Okay. He's not going to be able to get out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I'm going to draw my card for the Dune card as well. Is he doing... You know what? He's never done this before. At least not in this capacity. So I imagine he's disoriented. I'm not going to give him an action this turn. I'm just going to say he tries to... he's sort of like stunned, staggered, whatever you want to call it, by the sudden dimensional shift, and then he gets smacked in the face with a spring-loaded bow staff. Okay, so then you were going to do 5 plus 8, 13 plus 1 from the bow staff is 14. 6, so that's 8. Ow. Yeah. He does, like, kind of try to twist out of the way at the last second, but the bow staff, like, hits him and sort of, like, throws him back, and we're going to say it actually pushes him out the window.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Go ahead and draw a card back for having played that. And then I need to shuffle one more time. And then I need to draw that Doom card. Okay. Professor Davis, who was on the other side of the door trying to come through just as you popped out of the heart and tried to go through the door, is on the other side. Oh, man, that is the most disappointing draw from someone playing an 8 of Doom. That's fine. I'll make use of it somehow. And
one intellect. That's going to come back to haunt me at some point. I know it, but
one of willpower actually. So
one of willpower. Oh, jeez.
Which actually, he should be able to make decent use of because he has that fear ability. So, anyways, yeah. So he gets launched out the window. Glass shatters. The Professor Davis on the other side is like, "Oh my God, Jess, are you all right?" Like she again tries to get through the door.
I'm fine. I run over to the window and look to see if I can see him still there, if he's disappeared.
Yeah, he's still there.
Okay.
He's getting up, and like, kind of does like the shoulder roll, kind of like crack his neck, like, as he picks himself up from among the glass. He's clearly a pretty tough character. He doesn't even seem like he's cut up too badly by the glass. Although, no, he's fine. I don't think the fall did any extra damage to him.
A one-story fall at most. It wouldn't have been much.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Professor Davis comes through the door since you're no longer blocking it, and she kind of she checks that the heart is still there and still okay, and then she immediately looks at you and then runs around the table to the window and to see what's going on, and she just asks you point blank as she comes around the table, like, what happened?
That guy just appeared in the room, probably out of the heart, and he's after me. And he'll probably be after the heart too.
She she kind of like looks down at Leviathan, who's like he's looking up at you, like kind of again standing amidst all this glass, and there are a couple people that were kind of walking by that like jumped back. One guy's like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And Leviathan just like strong arms him into a bush, and then like kind of turns and continues scanning the campus, and then he sees the door that leads back into the building, and he walks over to it, and he goes back in.
I'm gonna pull a mask out of my bag, because just in case I needed some spare clothes, I put a mask on too, because if I lost my clothes at some point, I would at least have a bag that might have them. Just a chance. I have no control. It's been times where I've accidentally walked through a door with just my bag and my clothes were on the other side.
Right.
Not a great feeling. So I have spare clothes. So I just pull out something that works like a mask, and I jump out the window.
Okay. Is this a mask that you've had? So this is not an actual like superhero mask. This is just something that will work as a mask.
Something that will work as a mask, like cheap Halloween domino mask.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
So not something that obscures your glowing eyes.
Not something that obscures my glowing eyes. My glasses that do are put away.
Okay.
They're in my bag because I took them off I've taken them off to put on the mask, and I've jumped out the window.
Okay. You've got acrobatics. I'm not going to make you make and a 9 agility. I'm not going to make you make an action to... Oh, you know what? Actually, give me a... what do we say? Uncontrolled is going to be a willpower action. Oh, yeah. To prevent phasing unintentionally. As you jump out the window, give me a willpower action. To as you you kind of put the mask on and you go to jump out the window, looking all cinematic and superhero-ish and cool, and your body threatens to go incorporeal and sends you like through the pavement and into the sewers below.
For the sheer entertainment factor of this, I'm gonna play the 3.
Okay.
It is the right thing, so I get to draw another card.
Correct. You get a boost.
I get a boost.
Hey, all right. Yeah.
But I really feel like I half phased through the window and kind of stumbled when I land. And if I didn't have acrobatics, I would have hurt myself.
That's fair. Yeah, so you managed to kind of get under control before you hit the ground, but only just. And we'll move those to the side, and you can go and draw a card. You hear some people kind of shouting. Man, you are very willpower heavy today. Which is not a bad thing.
No.
Do you head for the door?
I head for the door yelling,
Okay.
"Hey, fish face!"
Okay. So, here's what is going to happen. You go in the door just as he's kind of like looking around, and you feel this pulse of malevolence off of him.
Similar to the pulse that came from the heart, but just evil in its feeling.
Yes, and you kind of get that same feeling like when he tried to overwhelm you with fear before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to need an action from you, but the problem is that it's affecting everybody that's like in the hallway. That's like, even in the classrooms kind of nearby, it's starting to hit everybody. So I'm going to pull that card as that's probably not great for you. Okay. Ooh, and it's a negative card, which means he heals a little bit.
But I've got this one, because that's a willpower to control my fear.
Yep. So he's gonna do.
And I drew another willpower card on top of it.
Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and play my Team Unity. For him, or the one of willpower, which is going to give him a boost, so it gives him another card. So that is so that's 55. That's doubled, so 15. So
and I draw again?
You do, yep.
And a 6.
Okay, so what is your total there?
Willpower is 8.
Mm-hmm.
8 plus 12, 26.
26. Okay. You don't have an action, or you don't have a thing that would assist you in this as far as skills go.
Don't have a skill or power yet, but
Yeah.
that might be something I'm going to be learning.
Okay. So 26 versus his. What did I say that was? Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, you managed to resist it just barely. He got a 24. And then that was
like
that.
it's almost identical to the last time. I was like 1 or 2 above him last time too.
Yeah. What action are you going to take this turn? I did draw a card for the Doom card that you played, by the way.
And I'll draw my extra card here.
Actually, don't draw that yet. We're going to finish the actions for this exchange.
Yep.
But we can toss that card back on top. So.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So I'm gonna just basically I'm just gonna. You know what? I'm going to insult him. Not just say fish face. I'm going to use my knowledge of mythology.
Okay.
To call him the lackey of lesser beings who answer to gods.
Okay.
Basically, just like you are so far down the totem pole that you are just the guard dog to the palace.
Okay. That'll
basically give him something of that nature to smack him, in some insult that way.
Right. Okay.
Then I can lead him away.
Right.
I want him out of the school, away from people.
Okay. That'll be a willpower action then to succeed at that.
Willpower? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Anytime you're trying to influence other people, it's a willpower thing. Yep.
Yeah. So willpower, and then my draw.
That wasn't the 7, but that's okay. It's better for you, so I'm not going to take it away from you.
I think you just reshuffled it into the deck as opposed to putting it on top.
I didn't tell it to shuffle, so I don't know what happened, but it's fine. Either way, that is you've got an 8 there, plus an 8. 16 plus a 5 is 21.
Which 21.
Is pretty darn good.
Yeah, and if you want to say the skill, if we say the skill mythology applies, that put me at 22, but it's not a willpower skill.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of an edge on that, but not a full 4. But it doesn't matter because you succeeded anyways.
Sweet.
So yeah. Okay, yeah, he kind of turns and I forget, was he speaking Latin? He spoke a bit of Latin and then a little bit of whatever language he spoke that you didn't understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to he kind of whirls around on you as people start kind of panicking, pushing. Some are trying to get out of the classroom, some are trying to get back into the classrooms, and there's just general mayhem and everything like that going on in this hallway, in this wing of the school. Just on this floor, it doesn't. Well, you wouldn't know, but just for everybody else's sake, it does not reach up onto the second floor. All right, I'm gonna need you to draw your 2 cards back.
Well, that's not helpful.
All right, and then we're going to draw this narrator card for the next exchange. Okay, so it's a positive card, which means you would draw cards back or you would heal, but you're not damaged, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, so what would you... Well, actually, let's see. I think your intellect is higher than his, if I remember correctly. So he declares first. Yeah, he's just going to run after you and try to... Let's see, doesn't have anything. Okay. How long is that? Okay, yeah. So it's going to be one more negative narrator draw. He'll be able to then change back into his big sea serpent form. Okay. So then... I mean, I guess he's just going to run after you and try to... I guess he's just going to, like, try to, like, grab you and, like, throw you. Like, he's not exactly much of a hand-to-hand combatant, so he's a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit uncouth about it, but that's what he's going to go with.
Okay.
What are you going to do on this turn? Not necessarily strictly avoiding him, but, like, what active thing do you want to do this turn?
Active, I do actually want to turn and start running back out the door.
Okay.
Try and get him to follow me. That's really my active, my goal. So I might smack at him just to keep him, just kind of smack at him, stay just within range, and keep moving backwards.
What you can do is there's a special kind of rule that you can do called an all-out defense, which is you don't actively try to hurt anybody or affect them. You just try to defend yourself, which means you automatically, no matter what card you play, unless it's a Doom card, it's considered to be the correct suit, and so you would get the boost, a benefit out of that. So if you want to do that, and then just kind of like narratively, that's you like turning and sprinting, back out of the building to get him to follow you.
Yeah,
Okay.
That sounds perfect.
Okay. So you do have a 1, which you can play for edge if you would like.
Yep.
And then you can play a 6 or a 2, depending on what you think is necessary to get away from this guy.
I'm going to play the 1, and then I will play the 6 as well. To put that, and that, since it is of suit, I just draw again on an all-out defense.
Correct, yep.
Okay. And that adds... Come on. There we go. And it drops a 4 down. So
Okay.
that's 11 plus my agility, which is 20. And then acrobatics or martial arts. Either one would be really helpful in avoiding him.
Yeah, I kind of imagine it's like an acrobatics, like kind of, you like dive and roll forward, like to get out of his reach.
Backflip thing.
Whatever appropriately, cool superhero-y thing Ghost would do in this particular situation. Okay. Yeah, he definitely is going to miss you. He's off by a mile. So then, yeah, go ahead and draw your 2 cards back. That'll be the end of that exchange. We'll move on to the next one. And, someone's feeling strong.
That might be this next exchange is combat.
Blinded by rage. I think that's gonna play into the fact that you just insulted him. So, I guess the question is, do I want that to play in your favor or not in your favor?
Oh, it's a negative card.
Yeah, but I mean that event and that aura are always tied together, so I don't necessarily know that I want to go. You know what? I'm going to draw from my deck, and it's a negative card, so it's a negative for you. So that will give him a little bit of a leg up this exchange.
It's helpful for him. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So he's just gonna. He's gonna try to like basically tackle you at this point because he is annoyed.
Okay. I am. If we're back outside now, away from people.
Yep.
I will engage in combat. Okay. Now I will start fighting him and using my staff to smack him around and try and control where he's going.
Okay. Go ahead and play your card of choice.
Play that one to start.
Okay.
And that gives me
Ooh.
So many Doom cards.
So many Doom cards. That's not a bad card to get given the circumstances.
No. And it says unstable ground. I have a feeling if I do get tackled, I'm just going through it.
That's a possibility. Okay, so are you using your phasing? Oh no.
No.
Are you? Okay.
I'm just fighting with my staff, hitting him, trying to get him to.
Right. Sorry.
knock him out.
Are you using your phasing to dodge the incoming attack?
I was not. To dodge the incoming attack. Yes, I'll use my phasing for that.
Okay. Because it is 1 point higher, so that kind of makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
So that is an 11 there, plus a 5 is a 16. Okay. Duly noted. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and play this agility card that I've got here, which is going to... actually, no, I won't, because that won't make a difference. He would still... oh, wait. Yeah, if I play that, get another card. All right, well, that was a 1, so that's a 6, plus that is 11, plus that is 15, and we determined that you got a 16. So, okay.
Yeah, with my friend,
you hit him. So that's going to be 16, plus 1 from your bow is 17, minus his... Okay, so that's going to be that much. So, wow. All right, go ahead and give me an agility action, please, to use your phasing to dodge.
Okay. That's what I got. I'm going for it. Yeah, I'll just use that. It'll be... it's phasing, that makes it a 13.
Okay, so then that's going to be... I'm going to use this ability to give him a little bit of a bonus on his score here. It's not huge, but I mean it's still... next turn he can do that. Okay, well, let's see what happens there. Okay, so that's 6. You take 14 points of damage, minus your strength. So that's going to be a total of 9 points of damage. So go ahead and draw your cards back, and then you'll subtract. You'll make up 9 cards from the cards you draw, or 9 points from the cards you draw.
So I take this and drop it, and because I have to get rid of 9 points, right?
Yep.
That and that. That's 9 points of cards.
There you go. That'll do it.
Okay.
All right. So. And a moment later, Brock walks back in the room, kind of like. So he's wearing like, sort of like the remnants of whatever he wore to work that day. Like he doesn't have the blazer on, but he's got the button-up shirt. The tie's been removed. The first couple buttons are unbuttoned. Like his cuffs are unbuttoned and kind of rolled up a little bit. So it looks like he's kind of like winding down for the evening when this guy showed up. He comes in and he kind of like looks around, like he's a little bit shell-shocked after having like switched out of I'm going to talk to your manager mode to someone just like, broke into my house and, had a little bit of a scuffle mode. And as he's kind of looking around, he kind of like buttons the second to top button and like starts rolling his sleeves down and kind of buttons them back up. And then puts his hands like on his hips and he looks at you and he says, "Look, I'm not sure if thanking you is in order yet, but who the hell are you?"
You can call me KJ.
KJ, great. Okay. Most people don't usually give their first name when I ask that. Usually they've got some sort of moniker or dramatic persona, so I guess that's kind of refreshing. Why are you in my house?
I mean, you were in danger.
By the way, me as Ben knows that KJ is not your character's first name. He clearly doesn't. Which is funny because in Amber's episode, she gave her first name and he assumed it was her superhero name. So, nice little kind of like...
Amazing. He can believe what he wants now.
Exactly. I think that works out because he's a reporter. He's kind of an oblivious reporter, so I think it plays well. He says, "I wasn't in danger. It's my house. I can handle it. There were guards right outside. You saw how fast they showed up."
And in the time it would have taken them to show up, Dog Boy there could have pulled your throat out.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm here because I'm helping a friend who lost something. I think you might know what I'm talking about. She came to a friend who asked for some assistance.
Damn it.
Yeah, you're in a lot of trouble, potentially.
Look, none of this is my
not
fault, okay?
necessarily from the law.
Yeah, this Dog Boy, as you called him, he's been around Portland for a little while now. He runs with a crew called the Menagerie.
Hmm?
He goes by Coyote, I guess, because he kind of looks not quite like a werewolf, but more like a coyote or a dog or whatever. I don't know. Like I said, overly dramatic persona, right?
Of course.
Regardless, this Menagerie crew, they, I don't know if you want to call them supervillains. That's maybe putting a little bit too much credit on them, but they cause trouble from time to time. Petty thefts, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
There are...
So they're fairly time currently.
Say again?
They're small time, at least at the moment.
Basically, yeah. Sort of training wheels for superheroes, you might say. At least compared to some of the big names that are out there. Dr. Calamity or Professor Calamity or whatever the hell his name is. Some of those other ones out there are big time. These guys are relatively small potatoes. But, they can still be dangerous, right?
Of course.
So anyways, he comes to me a couple of, I guess it was almost a month ago now. Somehow knew about a party I was throwing, and Morgana was invited. And he told me he wanted me to get her stuff. Basically, he wanted me to separate her from her belongings. I tried to, tell him hell no and everything like that, but he threatened me with those claws of his, and...
Yeah.
Look, it's one thing when you when you're reporting on a story. You have your job sort of there as a buffer, but it's something else when they show up at your house and you're in your pajamas.
Did you not consider contacting the authorities? Whether the actual police or these security goons?
I didn't consider contacting him beforehand, no, because if I had, then he would have shown up at some point and he would have, in his words, he would have separated me from my family jewels, as he so colorfully put it.
Mm-hmm.
And, the cops wouldn't have done anything. A, no crime had been committed so far as they knew. There was no evidence that this guy had showed up. And B, if they were going to do something about these superpowered guys, they would have already. Which is why I ultimately hired these blockade guys. Not that they seemed to do any good, because he got into my house and then so did you. So...
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you just need to pay him more. I did go for the basic package, so maybe.
Maybe.
Huh.
You got the rookies.
Yeah.
So this coyote, did you have any prior contact with him before this?
I mean, I've covered a couple of stories that he had involving him, like if they, broke into a jewelry store, tried to liberate animals from the zoo at one point. Like, who knows why? But,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. I mean, I've covered a couple of stories about him, but I've never met him personally. Like, they don't exactly line up for interviews. You know what I'm saying? Well, I do technically have an interview with a guy named Froststorm. Apparently, he's like a new player in town, but that's rare. They don't usually show up and ask for an interview. So
this was the first time you met and or spoke with Coyote.
yeah,
Interesting.
unless he's got like a secret identity that I don't know about. I mean, sometimes they do, but I don't know. These menagerie guys, they seem like they're kind of unrefined, if I'm putting it nicely. So I don't know if they've got an operation that complex.
Okay.
The other guys that he runs with, hold on. Let me think about this for a second.
Yes, what are their names? Yes.
There's Eel, slippery little guy. He can zap you, so be careful if you do tangle with him. There's Oxen, big, strong, dumb. Not much else to say about him. And then there's Cardinal.
Mm-hmm.
She's got these wings. Yeah. That's the four of them.
Okay. Miss Fayette's items. What happened to them?
That's just it. I don't know. I assume this coyote guy showed up and took them like he was planning, or like he said he was going to do. But all of a sudden he shows up and he's like demanding to know where the hell the necklace is. I don't even know what he's talking about. Well, I mean, I know what he's talking about. I've seen her wear the necklace. She wears that thing everywhere. But I mean, I didn't know that. If it hadn't been for her saying it was missing, I wouldn't have even known that's what someone was trying to steal.
Your cameras around your home, were they here the night of the party?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
they knew?
No. These security I mean, kind of a well-known celebrity, kind of a socialite. Family's got money. You gotta protect yourself, right?
Do you have cameras in the house?
I mean, I've got one in the foyer. Keep an eye if anybody comes through the front door. Plus one, on the front patio. And then I've got one in the basement. Keep an eye on the wine cellar, just in case the maid who comes in to clean up tries to sneak a bottle or something. That's about it. I mean, sometimes parties get a little bit wilder, and nobody wants to be on camera when they're enjoying themselves. You know how it is.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, thinking about that and just trying to put two and two together in my mind, the guy I postcogged, I'm going to assume he wouldn't have shown up on any of those cameras from the way he got into the property. He wouldn't have come on any of those.
Probably not.
Okay.
Although you could still theoretically inspect the cameras if you wanted to.
There may be another player. And I'll describe the cowled person I saw jump the wall and see if who recognizes that.
Says, I guess it wouldn't surprise me. being as this thing went missing and it wasn't this coyote guy, that someone else was involved. But how they knew anything about this amulet, knew to show up that night, he must either be someone that Coyote knows, or someone that overheard Coyote planning this whole thing.
But you don't recognize...
No, I don't recognize the description at all. I don't know many prowlers, if I'm honest.
Well, I'm new to the area. You're not, so you had a better chance of knowing more of the night people, we'll call them, I suppose, than I do currently. I can almost guarantee that Coyote will be back for you. So you should consider upgrading your protective package.
Yeah, I think I might have to.
If you have any other information, I would appreciate it. Miss Fayette is very interested in recovering her property.
Oh, look.
Not necessarily information right now, but if you learn anything, like, and I'll give him an email address, like, KJ@gmail or something stupid. Just like
Kinetic Justice at justicemail.com.
Exactly.
He says, well, hold on a sec. Can I just ask that you not... Can we not get the authorities involved here? Because technically, conspiracy, like, accessory, those kinds of words come up, and that's the kind of thing that in my business can ruin my career. It's not like I advertise this kind of thing, right? So, maybe you can handle this kind of low key.
At the end of the day, that will be up to Miss Fayette. If she decides to press charges or not. I think she's more concerned about getting her items back than punishing you. So if you continue to be helpful any way you can, then I'll do what I can to persuade her not to ruin your life.
Great. Okay. Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Before you leave, do you want to give me... Unless there was anything else you were going to do. Or say.
No, like, I don't, yeah. I could check the cameras, and I don't see much point, and I can always get back if I want to.
He can also send you he can also give you access to the footage.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, then, yeah. Just email me any footage from the night of the party.
Okay. You can give me a criminology, an intellect action using your criminology skill if you would like to get any kind of like hint or kind of suggestions.
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
17.
17. Oh, that's right. I forgot your intellect is really high. All right. You can go ahead and draw your card back for that. And sometimes you have to lean into the inherent cheesiness of the superhero genre.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. 17. So it strikes you as interesting that this took place on the night of a party at this place rather than like clearly whoever yeah, exactly, it's rather than at her home. So the guest list would probably be a good thing to get.
Yeah. Fair. Also, the guest list for that party would be useful.
Well, that's where things get a little bit difficult, champ. Obviously these kinds of things, people I mean, sometimes stuff that's a little bit less than legal gets passed around at these parties, and people don't necessarily want their names to be associated with crimes or crime scenes that might lead the authorities to question those people and then link them to,
I don't care who's diddling who's snorting cocaine off what. That's not important.
This is
If
something.
you're harboring sex traffickers, that's a different story. But I need that guest
no,
list.
nothing like that. I mean, like, look, we
Okay.
have some fun, but we're not skeezy around here, okay? Give me a willpower action to try and, like, intimidate / persuade him. Neither of those skills you have, but it's still willpower.
But I have this fancy dancy willpower card.
You do, exactly. So that'll give you a boost. You get to draw that card off the top of the deck. And
Oh dear lord. Okay. 14 plus 7 is 21.
okay. I mean, technically he does get to resist that. Go ahead and draw your card back. And I'm just going to flip a card here to see how well...
Alright. We're doing this again.
Ooh, I like that card. Alright, look. I get it. You're just trying to be thorough. You gotta pursue all leads, just like the cops. I respect that.
Like a reporter.
Or like a reporter, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Alright. I'll get you the list. I mean, if you're gonna go talk to anybody about the night of the party, can you please just, check with me first? I might be able to give you a little bit of a heads up if any of them are gonna be, like,
Twitchy?
stubborn.
Yeah. I think I can do that.
All right. Yeah, I'll have that email to you before the end of the night. Kind of checks his watch. He's like, I mean, it's late. I should probably get to bed because I got to go to work. And you know what? No, it's fine. I'll get it all together. I'll compile it. I'll send it to you in a zip file or whatever. So you'll have it. You'll have it within an hour or so.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Your
Yeah.
cooperation is...
Say again?
Your cooperation has been noted.
Yeah. Always happy to cooperate, especially when it's voluntary. And he kind of like starts to wander off. He says, I assume you can see yourself out the way you saw yourself in. The guys out front won't bother you because they assume that I hired you.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah?
Are you available for hire? I mean, you handled that coyote guy pretty well, and you snuck past those guys, so... the guards, so... I mean, I could pay you a retainer fee. With a slight
I'm already
bonus
on the job.
if... Oh, okay, well... Sure.
I appreciate the offer, though.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Great. Good night.
For the kind of protection you need, I think you're better off just upgrading your security package.
Well, I'm definitely going to be doing that in the morning, and I'm going to be getting it for free, too, because these chumps let two of you guys sneak in here. He kind of wanders off, like kind of complaining to himself about it. And then I think we'll cut to...
Yeah.
Where is KJ going to go after this? Like, is it next day? Is it same night? What are you thinking?
Immediately back to the car, zip out of the costume, and head back to the office. And just probably start like an automatic, like just set up for while I'm sleeping, like a research thing, like on the menagerie and any known associates and all of that. So just I'll have that ready for me to peruse when I wake up.
Okay. That I think I'm gonna ask you to give me a This will be an intellect action. I will allow your criminology to work here because that explicitly talks about like finding patterns in criminal behaviors, and since you have a specific criminal group to kind of like, basically use as one of your parameters, I think criminology will apply here.
Okay. Wouldn't be too difficult. We'll use the 2.
Oh, I was like, play the 10, play the 10.
I thought about it.
Okay, so go ahead and draw a card back. That gives you a 13. All right, so you get that set up. You know, you get ready for bed, go to sleep.
Yeah, and
I wasn't planning this, but
okay.
I think I'm going to do this. So, when you played your last Doom card, this is the card that I drew, which you may not be able to read. It may be backwards for the viewers, I don't know. But the event on this card is hostage situation. So I'm gonna run with that. I'm gonna weave that into the story here. So technically, I've played this card to bring this event to fruition. You wake up. Is KJ the kind of guy that listens to the news when he wakes up in the morning? Or
yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you've got like a news app or something like that on your phone.
Yeah.
So before you can get back to your computer to see what your little kind of algorithm like scrubbing program has found for you, you notice an alert on your phone, or you see a story saying that an unknown assailant has broken into the home of local dilettante Morgana Fayette. Luckily, the young woman was not at home. Sadly, it seems that a member of her family, perhaps an aunt or a grandmother, was on the premises at the time. Witnesses say that the woman was abducted by a furred, humanoid-looking creature of some sort, and was dragged away. In the early morning hours. The witnesses claim that the assailant was shouting into the streets for anyone who would listen. Bring me the amulet, or the old lady is going to get hurt. That sort of thing. This is not Brock, by the way, that is reporting on this story. The news anchor says, We'll bring you more as the story develops. Currently, police are on the scene investigating the apartment. Back to you in the news studio. And the story kind of cuts out.
Damn it. Costume or no costume? No costume. Okay. I'm going to drive to the scene.
Okay. You said no costume?
No costume, yeah.
Okay.
I'm a licensed private investigator, but I'm not a licensed superhero.
That's true. Technically, though, there's no union in town, so you don't need to be licensed just yet.
Fair, but more official this way.
True.